I'd like to call this April 14th regular council meeting to order. Everybody, please rise for a moment of silence. Please salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Mr. Gerard.
Present.
Mr. Devine.
Here.
Mr. Pezza. Ms. Cullen.
Here.
Ms. Rodriguez. Ms. Trinnell.
Here.
Mr. Plensky.
Here.
Mr. Di Giuseppe. Here. And just for the record, Mr. Pezza apologized last week when he said his wife planned a getaway. She thought our meeting was last week because of the Courier Times printed the wrong dates, and Mrs. Rodriguez is still recovering from surgery. Okay, Mayor, what do you have?
A few things. April 26th of this month will be the Autism Walk. It'll start at 9 o'clock down at the wharf. Anybody can make it. People greatly appreciate that. Also, we had a police meeting last week with the police officers. It went well. I believe we're going to have more and start moving in a good direction. The fire board meeting last month was canceled due to an accident that tipped over a transformer. So the last Tuesday of the month, I believe, Merrill, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's the 29th. We'll have that meeting. I will still be waiting to hear from the fire police when they're having their meeting. And there is one thing I want to touch base with the police chief is, Chief, I've told you about this before, and I want to bring it up tonight because I'm sick of getting emails with just pictures of cars parked this way, cars parked that way. And I don't know if it looks like selective ticketing to me. Certain people are getting tickets, other people aren't getting tickets. So with that being said, if we can get the police to go out there and enforce the laws, I'd greatly appreciate it, because the last thing I want to do is come home and go through 25 emails to have pictures of cars parked in front of hydrants, cars parked in front of in yellow painted areas. It's getting a little bit frustrating. I'd rather come home and have something productive to do than something like that. So.
Anything specific, Pat, or? Say
I
something.
don't know, you go ahead, you can ask Mayor. Did you have anything specific? Because I have.
Yeah, there's pictures floating around, and I think a few council people have gotten them. People have called me and told me that they're getting them, and I said to them, really, basically, they should be coming to me. But with that being said, you know, coming home and getting 20 emails, I mean, if that's what has to be done, it has to be done, but I would like to see the police force out there. If you want to give a ticket to one person, please make sure it's evenly distributed. Yes.
While you're on this subject, to me, I'm glad that you're bringing this up, because myself, I have been, I believe, targeted and selectively targeted for, you know, tickets and things like that. But more concerning to me is not that myself being targeted, but there's other people that feel like when they have something to say that differs from the rest of council and the majority of council, right? They are being targeted for traffic violations. Well, I should say more or less parking violations. I'm not so sure about traffic violations, parking violations. They're having, their property looked at, a lot closer than other people are having their properties looked at. So, to me, and when I think about it, there's good people in the borough, and I don't know if they want me to mention their names or not, but I'm going to mention them anyway, and, I'll see where that goes. But Tony Fusco, who owns, a business in the borough, he comes up and speaks his piece about something, and the following day, we have, there's an issue out there, and our inspection guy is out there giving him a ticket for something. To me, there's more than a coincidence. There's another guy, Elliot Lopez, who lives on Point Street, I believe, and he keeps his property meticulous. He speaks up or he fights about something that he feels was unfair, and he also gets ticketed. We had Chuck Rolfe, who is our school board president. He goes at a school board meeting, he's parked, close to the curb, whatever, he gets a ticket. And the last thing that we had, and most recently, is we had Mrs. Cochran. Now, Mr. Salerno, since I'm talking about Mrs. Cochran, I asked you for a copy of the letter that Mrs. Cochran's lawyer sent you in response to the council's threat to sue her for defamation. And I'm still not getting this letter. Could you tell me why I'm not getting this letter?
Mr. President, I believe because of potential litigation, this matter should be discussed in executive session. And I've said that before.
Okay, well, if it's going to be discussed in executive session, why hasn't council been giving the letter? It's been over a month.
Maybe it's not a public document.
It's not a public document? Well,
Then maybe it's not. We should discuss in executive session.
Well, we're
I
not
don't know what part of that you don't understand.
Well, I understand is that when I was in the council meeting, we had, for whatever reason, I thought that Mr. DiGiuseppe, decided to use Mr. Pezza to read the motion that if she didn't take down what she wrote up on a Facebook, message board, that if she didn't take that down immediately, that this council was going to sue her for defamation. Now, if we're not going to sue her, I would like everybody on this council that voted to even read that motion and voted for that motion to publicly apologize. Because otherwise, if you don't, what it looks like is just threatening. You're trying to suppress people. These are things that are just intimidating. You're using intimidation to have the residents of the borough not be able to speak. That's what it's about. There's no other reason. So Mr. Salerno, and I think that Mrs. Cochran made it quite clear that she never took the post down. The post is still up there, and I'm still waiting, where is this letter? And why is it that we're not doing anything about it? If it's not intimidation and it's not using our position of authority to suppress somebody. Can you answer that question for me, Mr. Salerno?
Again, this should be discussed in executive session. I don't know what you don't understand about that.
Well, it's not that you understand anything. I know, just when we talked about it before, it was something that was frivolous, right? And I want to know why we are not apologizing as a council individually to this woman who made a statement, which she's allowed to do, an opinion, and she's here now. She's here today. And then this isn't anything she expected me to say, but what is going on there? I would like an answer to it. And you want to keep saying it's an executive session.
We're in the middle of mayor's comments. Can we move on? I don't know if this is
I'm
appropriate.
still waiting for a response. And
We're in the middle
is
of
it okay?
mayor's-
Do you mind?
Mr. President,
It's really not up to the mayor to decide.
I think you got your answer, Tony. I don't see anybody apologizing to anybody.
Okay, so basically what we're saying, by not apologizing, we are saying that...
You were saying.
No, we are saying, I didn't vote for it. I don't think either did Mr. Gerard. I think everybody that voted for it, when you're back there, knows that they were doing it, and it was frivolous. There was nothing about it that you could look for as defamation. It didn't mention anybody's name. It's intimidation, and for those, we just can't go around intimidating people from our positions. Right? So if we're not going to sue her, I think everybody in here needs to give her an apology. Well, what's so difficult about that? Mrs. Cohen, are you going to, are you
Let me
going to
explain
continue
something to you,
sue?
Mr. Devine.
Go ahead, Mr. Giuseppe.
Not off the table yet of anything, so we're not going to comment on it.
Okay, so then maybe, because I got the letter. I got the letter from
Mr.
the source.
Hornstein?
No, not from Mr. Hornstein. Come on. Absolutely not. All right.
You meet with him every week. I told him to give you a copy of it.
No, I was just waiting. I was waiting.
You mean to tell me?
This is what makes me laugh.
Listen to me.
This is what makes me laugh. Can I, let me
Finish
read the
what
letter.
you're doing.
And I'll tell you, this is,
Mrs. President, you're exposing the borough to
Let him
liability.
do it. That's what I want him to do.
Fine.
Go ahead.
what's it going to, it's not going to get exposed or anything.
Got Mr. Hornstein's letter there.
All right.
So why would you want a
Please
copy
be-
from us if you already have it?
Because I wanted to show the residents of the borough that anytime you ask for anything in this borough, it's never available and you cannot get it, even with the right to know. I've
know
had
that's not
plenty
true,
of
Mr.
time.
Devine.
It is
No,
true.
that's not true.
It's very
Go ahead,
true.
We
Tony,
didn't
read the
start
letter.
yet.
Anytime that you ask for anything, it's always a right to know, even though you're a councilman, even if you're a mayor and you're asking for things, you can never get any of the information.
You
So I
wanna
just wanted to
read-
make it very clear.
Listen,
because
you
we
wanna
wanna be
read the
transparent.
letter?
Yes, I want to.
All right, let's go.
All right. Please be, dear Mr. Salerno, please be advised that I have been authorized by Bristol Borough School Board to represent Ms. Cochran with respect to your recent threatened litigation. To that end, I have received and reviewed a copy of your correspondence from February 11th, 2014, as well as the tape recording of the Borough Council meeting, where the discussions and vote occurred. Succinctly stated, if the borough and Mr. Markey truly wish to initiate legal action, I would strongly suggest to review the provisions, and he lays them out for you, PA RCP 1023.1, prior to doing so. Specifically, please review the provisions 1023.1C, generally dealing with meritless claims. Further, if such a frivolous action is filed, Ms. Cochran intends to pursue all remedies available under 42 PA CSA 8351 when she is ultimately successful. Now, I'm placing you on notice and any of your clients and council members that may certify a frivolous complaint. So, to me, that's something that includes every member of council, especially the ones who voted on it. So, that includes Mrs. Cullen, that includes Mr. Plensky, that includes Ms. Robin Trinnell, that includes Mr. Di Giuseppe. So, all of you guys, were you aware, did you get a copy of this letter?
You don't need to answer
Mrs.
anybody.
Collins?
Lorraine.
Not answering your questions, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay, you don't have to be sorry. Mr.
Nobody
Plensky,
needs
did
to
you get a
answer
copy? Mrs. Trinnell, did you get a copy? Mr. Di Giuseppe, did you get a copy?
No.
All those days you have lunch every day with Mr. Salerno, he didn't give you a copy of that?
Yep.
Oh, that's crazy. All right, so that's the first part. So I guess what I'm saying is, it's very clear that somebody else spoke up and pretty much called whoever voted on their bluff, and now it's time that you guys be adults, you made a mistake, admit it, apologize to the woman, and we can move on. It's simple. It's very simple. So I hope that at some point that we do that.
How do we go from parking on a yellow line to this?
Because it all goes together, because this is
All right.
how it starts. But I'm glad you brought that, because you got my mind back together again.
Okay.
All right, so,
How is he allowed to do this?
so, moving forward, okay, moving forward, I think that it is selective enforcement, and we have to do something, Chief. I have myself, right, because I listen to people, right? And they tell me, well, that's how you take pictures and you do that. I said, okay, I will do that. So I took pictures, and I also made a log of calls, times along to coincide with the pictures. And I would like to give them to the mayor and let the mayor have them. And Mayor, you do whatever you feel that's right to do. But I will tell you this, the people of the borough that voted for you for a reason. Now, these are pictures that show very clearly very clearly that there are people here who are of, influence in the borough that do whatever they want, it looks like, and there is no repercussions. And there's other people who are targeted, and they need to go and make fines, and they're
Share
fine.
that with anybody?
It's up to the mayor. They're in his hands. He can do
What
whatever
I'm
he
going
wants.
to do is I'm going to share these with the police chief, and I'll straighten it out with the police chief.
Is it somebody's car that you want to mention, Tony?
I mean,
Is it a council person or their family?
like I said, I'm going to leave it in the hands of the mayor. He can do what he wants. The people voted for him to do something along these lines, and we'll see what he does. That's all. I mean, I'm not going to mention anybody's name, but
Why not? You mentioned everybody else's.
Chief Porter, do you
You're
have
welcome.
any way to respond to this, please?
Yes, I do.
Good.
I do. I think he mentioned 4 people, 4 incidents, and one of them seemed like they were police-related. The rest were not related to police. The incident that you're talking about, where the issue of a parking citation occurred, not just one person, but the officer saw 2 vehicles that were parked improperly, and 2 citations were issued that day. If you have some other information that other people are being targeted by my officers with either moving violations or parking violations or any other kind of activity, you please let me know, let the mayor know.
okay. Well, Chief, I will answer this in all due respect. I have made numerous phone calls and documented and waited there, and no police have ever showed up. There has never been anything ever particular because the people continue to do it. Now, that's even our building inspectors. Listen, if I do something wrong, I have absolutely no problem admitting I did something wrong, pay the ticket or whatever, and move on. But what I don't agree with is when you are in a position of power, right, that you can make the rules, but you don't have to follow them. And I think that that's what's happening on this council. Now, I don't mind telling people here who is responsible because it's very clear, and I have no problem because they're here to defend themselves. Miss Cullen,
That's not true.
okay?
That's not true.
Mr. DiGiuseppe, Miss Trinell.
That's not true.
What do you mean? I have pictures of it. It doesn't matter that it's true. I have pictures of it. So,
Yeah, I
Doesn't
know,
matter that
that's
it's
good that
true.
you do, because
Doesn't matter
you're
if
right.
it's true.
why is it good?
Because it shows that I'm not in violation, so,
It shows that you're not in violation.
yes.
It shows that you are in violation and you
No,
never
it
got a
shows-
ticket.
No, it
Have
shows
you ever got
that
a
I'm not
ticket?
in violation.
Have you ever got a
They
ticket?
came and measured
Have
and
you-
said I wasn't in violation.
Have you ever got a ticket?
No, and I don't deserve one. And you know
And you don't
what?
deserve one
How
more.
about your friend?
I
How
don't know
about
who
your
my friend is.
Your friend's car was parked there. It was
I don't
your
know who my
friend.
friend is.
It was your friend's car.
Tony, I think you always,
That was
you know
parked
that-
there, not mine.
So what I'm saying is this.
Let's stoop to a new low
It's
here.
not a new low, it's understanding the
Tony.
people that are, the residents of this town see it. You guys want to act like it's not happening?
I'm not.
It is. And I would welcome and encourage anybody in the town who feel like they have been targeted or not treated fairly to come to a meeting, step up, and don't be afraid that you're going to be embarrassed or ridiculed for coming up there, and we'll see what happens. I have it documented. Every single time that I've come and speak, that come and speak at a meeting, bring up something that people don't go along with, or the majority, the next week, there's an issue somewhere that I have. It's comical, right? But if everybody continues to not say anything, it'll continue to go on, and the people who are in charge will continue not to follow the rules that everyone else has to follow, and that's what will happen. But I don't want to live in that type of society,
Real
so.
quick, I will pass these out, because I never seen these pictures. So I think maybe
I
you
think it's
guys want to
fair,
see it.
Pat. We've all been
Okay,
mentioned here.
but before I go into that, I want to talk about, there's a motion on the agenda number 5, to appoint Chet Zukoski to the Delaware Canal State Parks Advisory Committee. I'm hoping that that goes through, unanimously, because he'd be a big asset to this town and that department. Here's the pictures. I've never seen them before. They're for you. Please hand them down, and if they can end up in the police chief's hands, I greatly appreciate it.
Pat, what exactly would happen now? I'm just curious, like in the event that a council person inadvertently parked with a yellow line. Like, what exactly is the chief
Well,
supposed to do at this
here's
point?
here's the thing. We've had numbers of people
Just looking
have
for me.
gotten hit with parking
I'm
tickets.
not here.
And some bought it, some didn't. Some paid it. We had a woman here, I don't want to say her name, she's a relative of mine. She came up to a meeting, she got hit with a parking lot, or for a parking ticket. And it was only because it was a couple inches out, and I just don't understand
I
that.
don't want to say.
But I don't know
So
why
that being said-
we're being accused. I just don't understand I don't know where people park. I don't have anything to do with this.
And what bothers me the most in looking at these pictures is this one especially, Chief, because of that. One with the police officer vehicle parked legally, and the other vehicle doesn't look parked legally. I don't want to sit here and hit anybody with tickets, believe me.
That's fine.
I want everybody, let's get on the same page, and want to do it one way, do it the other. It's nothing. Okay, that's the one that bothers me. But-
Discussion about this later on.
Tony, are you
About-
done?
about-
Yes, I'm finished. And
Done, Pat?
Mr. Mayor, I apologize. for interrupting.
I just have, since we're on the subject, and
He's not finished.
you mentioned Mr. Groff. First of all, Mr. Groff, it cost the borough $160 to send a police officer to a hearing. The first day, there was 2 tickets given, from what I understand, that night. The secretary for the school board and Mr. Groff. Both got a ticket for being on the corner. The next day, the secretary came in and paid the ticket. Mr. Groff elected to ask for a hearing, which he has every right to do so, just like so do we if we get a ticket. That day, the hearing cost us $160 to send a police officer to the hearing, which Mr. Groff asked for a continuance at that hearing. Therefore, when it was rescheduled, we had to send the cop back again, which cost the borough another $160 for a cop to go there. Are you aware of that, Pat?
I heard it.
Ticket, it wasn't that he wasn't parked illegal. The secretary apparently wrote the ticket under the wrong section, and therefore the ticket got thrown out. And that's fine. But it wasn't that Mr. Groff was right, Mr. Groff was wrong, and used an attorney from, I guess from Mr. Hornstein's office to defend him to waive a $25 ticket. So it cost the borough, us, $360 for a $25 ticket. That's one thing I want to say. Second thing I want to say, when you live in glass houses, you shouldn't throw stones. And the way you guys get emails of pictures and different things sent to you, correct? Well, I get them too. And I have a picture of a car parked in a handicap ramp, number one. Now, handicap ramp, you should never park in front of, correct?
I agree.
Number 2, parked in a crosswalk that crosses from the senior center to that handicap ramp. Am I correct? That's really devastating. And number 3, the car's parked too close to the corner. But yet, there was no tickets given to that car. So, I'm going to hand these to the mayor. Maybe you want to let everybody know what's there.
Okay, thank you.
I have the floor. Let me finish.
No reason to get upset, I was going to ask.
And I would never bring that up, but since you brought it up, Pat, I figure, let's clear the air. It's in a handicap ramp, parked in a crosswalk and on the corner.
Okay.
And they want to know why that was allowed. In front of the police station.
Would you like them, or can I frame these?
You can frame them if you want. You want to let Tony know whose car it is?
I think he would know.
Oh,
You understand?
We're not sure though.
So, you know, it works 2 ways.
okay. So these pictures, to me, if there's somebody doing something that is illegal or not, they should be taken.
But I'm saying, you guys are sitting up here criticizing everybody else.
No.
No, not criticizing.
This
For
is what we're
saying that We're selective.
No, what we're saying is,
Wait
what's fair?
Wait a minute, you
what's
said it's
fair-
selective enforcement.
There is
What's
selective.
fair is fair.
Absolutely.
Now, there's a car there that's parked in a handicap ramp on a crosswalk and too close to the corner.
And I'm going to ask you a question. Did you call the cops and report?
I got it in the mail,
All I'm saying is...
just the way you guys
No,
get
no,
stuff
no.
in the mail.
I'm telling you, there's the difference. The difference is this, okay? What happened, let me finish, please, you had a chance. The difference is this. I called, right? I called,
Well, no.
documented, wait a second, documented, wait for somebody, nobody ever shows up, and it's done every single day. Now, if it happened to happen once, I understand. When it happens every day, there's a problem. That's called selective enforcement. Now, wait a second, I'm gonna finish. And the second part of that is this. When you talk about what's fair for one should be fair for all, right? Do you agree with that? Okay? Well, the thing about it is, when you drive by a certain real estate office,
It's
right?
my son's, you could say whose it
That's
is.
all right, you could say, but you drive by every single day.
Right.
Every single day, he is parked illegally, and then you go over to
But
visit,
you're
you're
saying he's
parked
parked
illegally.
illegally.
I have made calls to the police, and they are documented, with pictures. Nothing has been done.
Shouldn't you
You're
talk to
saying-
Ernie
Nothing
about
has
that?
been
Because
done.
you're saying it's illegal, but them yellow lines shouldn't have been there, so it's not illegal.
There are yellow lines, are you saying yellow lines shouldn't be there at the corner, on every property?
You gavel that corner
That's-
down
I mean,
around
seriously,
Crown.
that's-
Let me just say
comical.
something. You
That's
want it,
comical.
it's personal with you.
It's really not personal.
It's
Tell
personal,
me
but
one
when I
thing
just
that's
showed
personal.
you the pictures of the other car,
And whoever's car
well,
that
whose
is,
car is it?
whoever's car that is, the cop should have came, put a ticket, and he should get a ticket. I don't know what's so hard about that. If that was my car, I would expect to get a
Look, the
ticket.
mayor started this tonight, he brought it up, talking about getting emails. I get stuff sent to me, I don't say anything. If the cops issue a ticket, they issue a ticket.
Okay.
Nobody's saying they shouldn't, nobody said they should. But that car was parked in a bad position to block people coming out of the senior center, walking the street with a walker that couldn't get up on the handicap ramp, and also parked in the corner, on the corner.
Look, here's the difference again. I'm going to tell you.
You know
here's the
what,
difference.
Tony? I don't-
No, wait a minute. It's fair. I mean, me and you are having a good conversation. What the difference is, again, is these instances that I showed you were called. Nobody came out. If
I
that
don't know if
person...
they did or they didn't, I
Oh,
can't.
I'll document it.
Well,
Because
that's
I
good.
have
Then
the
let the
time.
mayor investigate why
And then the-
they're not
And
responding.
then the second thing is, I've got a question for you. Have you ever been given a parking ticket?
Yes,
In the last 8 years?
yes.
Okay.
And so did my son, I just paid one the other day. He had one on Mill Street.
Well,
I walked in, see, I paid him. I walked in and paid the ticket, you can go check
I know that
downstairs.
you're never going to run out of money, but this is a case
That bothered me.
that you could,
I knew
because
that
he's there
bothered
parked wrong every day. Every day. And the other thing on top of it, and I just want to get ahead of the game, because I think there's something going on. I think that Councilman Pezza, right? I think that Councilman Pezza
He's not here.
I know he's not here, is that he's going to bring up something about doing another traffic study to see if we can get grant money to widen that area. And I hope that that is not a way to widen that area, so we use, we use a grant to make that area a place that some privileged people could park. I hope that that's not the case. I'm not saying it is. I would just hate to see if that's the case. That's all.
Well, you brought it up. I didn't. What I'm saying, I mean.
Doesn't bother me.
Well, you know whose car it is.
I better.
I know whose car it is.
I better know whose cars it
Yeah.
is.
So,
But it's interesting how we use our borough's employees. Very interesting.
yeah,
Like sometimes
you get a lot of stuff, you got a lot of emails sent. So it works both ways.
No, I mean, it's kind of funny how, okay, so-and-so, go out and take a picture of this car right now before it's too late. so it's documented.
And how
That's
about on Mill
great.
Street?
That's
The
great.
other
I
day?
really like it.
How about in Richie Valle's the other day? You weren't parked illegal, and you ran out to move it when he was ready to write you a ticket?
No, if you would understand what I told the individual,
What'd you tell him?
I didn't know that Riverside Therapy, which I go to, had moved from one block to the other, so I parked and ran into Richie Vallejo's, who knows every store, and asked him where the hell Riverside Therapy was.
Right. But when he was ready to write the ticket, what happened?
He was not ready to write a ticket.
Okay, I don't want to get into this.
See, now I think that,
But,
Sounds like somebody else wants to make
guys,
it
sounds
you
personal.
like-
guys want to park illegal, but you want to throw stones at glass houses.
Nobody wants to park
I
illegal.
don't think that's the truth
Well,
of it.
that's your car, isn't it?
Yeah?
Parked in a crosswalk, parked at a handicap ramp, parked too close to the corner?
One time?
Forget about it, one time, it's your
Okay,
car.
okay.
But yet,
Then you know
everybody
what?
wants to come up here and whack me.
Tell him to give me
It
a
works
ticket.
both ways.
Move on.
All right. Anything else on the mayor's communication?
No, on item number 3, the motion to authorize proclamation recognizing May 3rd, 2014 as Keep Bristol Beautification Cleanup Day. I think that'll be a great day. I'm hoping that we get a lot more people sign up. We get out there and we make this town as clean, as pretty as it possibly can. And it seems like we have all the right ingredients to make that happen for that day. So with that, I am done with mayor's participation. One other thing. In the minutes of last week, there was a statement said that it was a conflict of interest for me for the transcripts because of a Mr. Lou Hornstein. I do not have an attorney. I don't have an attorney. I don't use Lou Hornstein as an attorney. He handled one case for me when I had to go up to
Right, he represented
Doylestown.
you.
Yeah, that was it. I don't
Okay.
keep him on a retainer.
Well, I know for a fact, and, you want to clear the air, Pat. You, Dave, and Tony meet with him regularly.
Is there something wrong with
No, there's nothing
meeting
wrong with it,
a
but what I'm
friend?
saying is you can't sit here,
A friend.
you can't, a friend that sued the borough, number one, for $440,000, who's now representing the school board. I mean, look, I'm not saying anything's wrong with that, but let's turn the tables.
It sounds like you are.
Let's
saying
turn the
something wrong.
tables. How about if that was my attorney that represented me? Everybody be calling for an investigation that I'm using an attorney that sued the borough and now represented me in a case. So, I mean, it's just a perception of how it looks. That's all I'm saying.
So you agree that the perception that you have of Mr. Salerno is a problem, and that...
No, I don't think it's a problem. We're best friends.
I know you're best
He didn't
friend.
sue the borough for
But what I'm saying
$440,000.
is, if we're talking about the perception,
Come on, Tony, you know what you are
What is-
so
what is the
jealous,
perception?
and you got such a personal problem that you can't see.
absolutely, listen.
You hate it.
Anybody...
You can't stand the
Listen to me.
fact that I'm sitting in this chair.
Absolutely
It
not.
kills you.
It really does.
But you'll never sit here.
It really does.
You will never sit here.
And the
Never.
weird part about it is that
You
you
can
missed...
say what you want. You're
missed the
a
whole
young
point.
kid that never grew up.
You didn't...
That's your problem. You never grew up, and you act like you
I'm
embarrass
going-
this council
I'm going to tell you
and this
something.
town.
I'm
And
going-
I'm telling you to your face.
Right, I know you're loud.
Good.
You're a lot stronger and a lot more powerful when you're sitting up there.
No, I'm not. I get off this chair.
Listen,
I can get off this chair now if you want to say something.
Mr. DiGiuseppe.
I'm sitting here, I'm more powerful.
No,
You want me to
feel
step
you're more
off the
powerful.
chair?
I don't feel you are. You are. But what I was saying was this.
You're a jealous
When you
kid.
say,
That's
the
what you are.
truth is this. Anybody that knows me in the borough, Mr. Pezza will tell you, there's not a jealous bone in my body.
I know.
Oh, God.
There isn't. There's not a jealous bone
You're
in my body.
embarrassing yourself.
No, it's not. It's what's fair is fair, that's all. I don't have a personal problem with you, not even a little bit.
You
Because
don't?
I really don't. If you would step down from there,
You'd be thrilled.
no, I wouldn't. If you were to step down from there, right, and do your business, your regular business, your general contractor building, I wouldn't have a problem. The only problem I have with it is your positions. That's all. If you weren't in that position, you would not hear an ounce.
What
of
position am I
complaint.
in?
You're right.
You are the council president and you control the
Control
votes.
anything.
Of course you do.
No, I don't.
Listen, I give you respect, you control the votes, and I think it's amazing the way you're able to do it. I'm not gonna deny that. I mean, you have people here, that truly, and I don't mean to be ignorant, but they don't open up their package, they don't know what's going on until you tell them.
Oh, my God.
That's the truth.
That's rude.
That's sad.
I didn't say you, Ms.
I
Collins.
was going to say,
I didn't say you.
All right, what
I
else
know
you
you
got?
open your package.
that's rude.
I just want to find out from the mayor, which minutes were they in?
Last month's minutes.
Remember Ornstein's name coming
No,
up.
I just want to clarify it because it's attributable to me. What I said is if you and me have a conflict, you have a right to retain counsel.
You wrote the minutes? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm remembering what I said. It's attributable to me. The solicitor will advise the mayor of his right to retain counsel to represent him in a conflict with the borough solicitor.
I don't have that with
I
me.
have it right here.
Okay.
Does it say anything about Mr. Hornstein?
It doesn't say Mr. Hornstein.
I think I have it too.
Can I approach you?
I just want to know where they are. That they're somewhere, but
In the back.
March 10th? March 10th. Those minutes were approved.
It was the conversation I had with Mr. Joe Morse. Right here. Mr. Devine made a motion that Mayor Sabatini has the right to access all information needed to conduct his investigation. Mr. Gerard seconded. Sergeant Joe Moore spoke at the PBA, as the PBA president, and feels Mr. Sabatini has a conflict in having Mr. Hornstein as his attorney
You're
in
right.
the matter.
I thought you were attributing it to my statement.
No. No, Billy, it's not you. No, it was just,
That was what's said by the
Yeah.
officer.
Okay.
I agree.
All this
yeah.
public participation, anybody on this side?
Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Before we go to public participation, there are two quick announcements pertaining to the West Ward. Number one, PICO has scheduled, and I just got this information, that's why we didn't have it last week. PICO has just scheduled a meeting for Wednesday night, May 14th, at Goodwill Hose Company to discuss their progress on the MGP site over there for the firehouse and the problems we're having over there. And also, let me think, where's the other one? The electric company has finally agreed, Conrail's finally agreed to let the electric company come in and move all the poles on Old 13 back. So I believe they're going to pull permits and start that next week. We've been asking for a long, long time. They've been hit several times. It's always causing problems. Electric goes off, so just so the residents of the West Ward know that we do have permission to start that project. So I'm sorry, I just want to get that out.
You know what, I'd like to say something too, if I could. I want to ask, Mr. Salerno, before the next meeting, can we see about, I was approached by the president of softball and baseball, and he wants to know if they can get the complex smoke-free. Can you check to see what we would have to do that? And he said that kids are smoking by the bullpen, I don't know what they call them, the dugouts, and kids are, the smoke's going in their face, and he's pretty upset over it. So if you can just look into that. Thank you.
Public participation. Anybody on this side of the room? State your name and all for the record.
Tony Riccio, 500 Clymer Street. The weather's been nice last couple weekends. Along with that, in my area, Clymer Street, Buckley Street, a lot of negative activity going on over there. The police were there Saturday night, yesterday, then Spruce Street. There's a lot of there's cars from Jersey all over the place. People that don't belong in the neighborhood, they park along Clymer Street. When we come home to go down our street, they block the street and won't move, making comments throughout their all hours of the night, smoking, doing whatever. Saturday, a woman and a guy got into an argument. She jumped on the hood of the car, and he's racing up down the street, hitting the brake, racing, trying to throw her off the car.
Did you call the police?
Not on that incident. Well, I called Joe Moores. Joe Moores had to come out and took care of that.
Okay.
I did come over to the police station. There was nobody here, being the weekend. I didn't call the county dispatcher, but I kind of rode through town. I didn't see any police. So I did speak to Joe Moores, and he came out, and he was out there last night and kind of, cleared the area. But there were 7 cars along in front of my house, and they're just hanging out, and they're loud, cursing, screaming, fighting. And then you find the little, I'm not a
Wrapper.
drug user, but you see the little green bags, the clear bags, and then they throw their trash out on the street. I'm out there picking up McDonald's wrappers in front of my house. So I'd like to, if we can get a police presence there and crack down on them, because it's my opinion is we're not far from somebody getting stabbed over there. It's that bad. The cops were over there on Spruce Street. I saw them go by yesterday with a township car. So, I don't know. I don't know, how bad it is, but I know on my street, Clymer and Buckley, it's bad. It's been like that for the last few years, and,
Once the weather breaks, we always have, but, I'll let Pat discuss the way he runs it.
I don't know if we could designate an area along there as no loitering. Is that possible? Can we do something like that, or?
Pat, you want to answer him?
I would like to ask the solicitor about that. Can we make an area no loitering? We have the right to do that.
Not other than what we can do for the whole town. You can't have curfews other than for certain age.
We're at 11 o'clock for most kids.
Listen, you can enforce the laws that are there as far as parking, maybe extend some of the lines, because people want to hang out and aren't doing anything wrong, and I'm not saying they are.
Right.
That in itself is not a reason to get rid of people. I think
I mean,
the trick is to have a presence there. And, Tony, I think this, Cullen, you got to call the police immediately,
Okay.
right, Chief? You just can't try to do
Every
it
time, get it
yourself.
documented.
Got to call them. Because sometimes they'll get there and there's nothing happening, but sometimes they
Right.
might.
There are some other residents, so there's a woman up there, and she kind of feels she's afraid of retaliation. She did call, and that's
You
what.
don't have to say who she is. You don't have
I
to.
told her, I said, you can call anonymously, and she still feels, because she lives right there, and she did call, and they came out, and there was 3 police cars there, and there was some kind of violation. Somebody got taken away and gone, but
Like,
I just,
if you call a police officer and not the dispatch or whatever, then that doesn't go on record.
No, I
So
understand that.
You have to call, right? Am I right?
Correct.
And you want that on record.
Right.
Because if it becomes a nuisance, and we see that it is, am I right, Mr. Mayor? Am I right?
Excuse me, repeat that, or I was...
I said if it becomes a nuisance and they keep calling, then you can put something there.
We go into action.
Right. So,
that's just a
And that's
bad
something-
area. It's a really bad area, really. I'm not making light of it. It's really bad. It's just something has to be done. There's going to be a problem there. I've offered, and a lot of the police officers, I have cameras on my house, and they get right in on there, so, they've used it, somebody did some damage to a car, and I've actually turned it over to the police, and they've used that, but I have cameras all around my house, so, it's constantly
that's
recording.
good that you did.
So,
Good.
I just, if we can get, I'd love to see some kind of police presence there, just to deter, let them know that we mean business, and it's,
I was down the shore watching my daughter play, and someone called me and asked me to call a cop, okay? I said, no, but I will call the cops for you, the police station,
right.
and that's what I did, So, it's really
I
important.
think you should give us an update next month unless somebody got any better. And like I said, talk to the mayor and chief
Okay,
and see if they can get you more police presence or whatever they got to do.
okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Anybody else on this side of the room? Anybody on this side of the room would like to speak on anything?
Charles Groff, 262 Madison Street. Also, I work for the taxpayers as well. I don't get paid for it, and the police chief was there, so I think your numbers might be a little skewed about how much my hearing costs the borough. However, I wasn't here for that.
My numbers are wrong on what, Charles?
I'm here about number 11 on your agenda tonight, about authorizing the waiver of permit fee request from the redevelopment authority. Seems to be a line at the end here that says applicant is to complete project as submitted. However, in a discussion through a conference call this afternoon with Bob White, Joe Bolstein, environmental consulting, the school district solicitor, the engineer that we're working with, Mr. White and Mr. Bolstein told me they're coming to our school board meeting on April the 24th to tell us about a few changes that they require because the plans have some issues with a tree, a manhole cover apparently. The Public Works Department was out and they found that a manhole cover that was supposed to be decommissioned is actually live. So now we have to raise a cover that they originally intended to bury. So I think if you pass this motion as complete project is submitted, we already know that changes are coming.
Okay.
I still think you should pass it and then change it later, because
Thank you. Anybody, you got anything else?
I just want to make you aware of that.
Anybody else on this side of the room? Somebody, go ahead, Bill, somebody was coming up, but...
Oh, somebody come up? Hello. I'm not sure if anybody's still listening. After the first half hour of this council meeting, I'm not sure if anybody's still listening. But I have some news to share, so I want to share it. There's a lot of good things happening in town. First of all, agenda items. Number 3, I appreciate it being on the agenda, and I request that you do authorize a proclamation recognizing May 3rd, as the mayor said, as Keep Bristol Beautiful Cleanup Day. And I'm going to talk to you more about that in a minute. Also, number 5, Chet's appointment to the Canal Commission. I had the pleasure of serving on the first Delaware-Lehigh Navigation Canal Commission. I was appointed by Congressman Kotzmeyer a long time ago. And the reason I'm excited about Chet serving is because it's a thankless job. Quite often you have to drive to Easton for meetings. You know, the canal runs from here all the way to Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, when you talk about the Lehigh Canal. So it's a lot of work, a lot of time, and quite often our end of the county is not represented. So I'm happy to see Chet there, and I hope he gets approved. Number 9, I'm also happy to see that the council intends to act, I hope, on Mr. Waldron's proposal for some tree plantings along Otter Street and over Route 13. It's a gateway to town, as George said, and it's, I think it's very important. This is the last meeting, I'm sorry, I like to be upbeat, I like to be positive. You know, when we put our name on a ballot and we say we want to serve the people, I would like to think we want to go to bed at night saying, you know what, I did a good job today. I met the needs of the people I represent. Their quality of their life is better today than it was yesterday, and it's not always going to be that way, and there's always problems, I understand that, and it's not all, you know, it's not all ice cream and cake, but, man, I'm not sure how many people watching the meeting tonight, stop beating each other up. I don't want to be, I forget Joe Biancasino's current name, but he was here a month or so ago and made the same, just stop beating each other up. And guilt by innuendo, and it shouldn't come from anyone. I wouldn't want to be a police officer tonight, because it implies that they're out there doing things wrong. It's just, anyway, let me just do what I had to do and move on. This is the last council meeting before our May 3rd cleanup. On Wednesday of this week, we're having our last planning meeting for the cleanup. We've been getting, Dave came to a meeting, Greg came to a meeting, Leo offered to help. We've had people coming, we had 47 people at the last meeting who want to help clean up the town, volunteer their time. So, and almost 100 of them have already bought a T-shirt. The last day to buy a T-shirt for the cleanup is is April 16th also, this Wednesday. You don't need a T-shirt to get involved. It's just a way of showing community spirit. Well, we just like everybody to get involved in some way. We're also having a flower sale. I told you about that last week, but what I learned from the brick sale is that people pay attention about the last 3 minutes of when something's going to happen. So, we're having a flower sale, and we're basically just almost giving them away. We don't like to give them away because people don't value things when they get them for free. But for $1, you're going to get a 6-pack of flowers. And our hope is, and we ordered 1,800 flowers, and Galzerano Funeral Home is paying for the flowers, and we hope, and so is Raising the Bar. And we hope that people would just come, buy some flowers, go home and plant them. Help your neighbor clean his yard out if he's too old, or, or maybe you do it for each other, you help each other out that day. We're going to have bulk pickup. Mr. Dillon has asked me to remind everyone that the Mascaro will not pick up tires, building materials, cinder blocks, or oil-based products, okay? Other than that, I think we're okay. So get those yards cleaned out, help each other out, that's great. Just put it to the curb, and I think it's going to be collected Tuesday. Is that correct, Mr. Dillon?
Yes.
That's where we are, so we're going to put it out Saturday, we'll deal with it for a weekend, we'll pick it up Tuesday, make the place look better. In addition, if you have tires that you want to get rid of, call the Borough Hall, call the manager's office before Friday, May 2nd. And just all you need to do is say, I have a tire I want to get rid of, this is my address, put the tire out to the curb, Raising the Bar volunteers are going to drive by, pick up the tires, Raising the Bar is paying for a tire recycle person to be he's going to park a truck at the train station parking lot, and we're going to throw those tires in the truck, Raising the Bar is going to pay for them to be disposed of, and we'll get rid of some tires. So these are things that sometimes people have trouble getting rid of, and that's what we're trying to do. So I encourage, this does not have to be a formal thing. We're going to meet at 10 minutes to 9 on May 3rd to do our cleanup. People have volunteered to do things all over town, but it doesn't have to be that formal. If you'd rather just do your own yard, help your neighbor, that's all. All we want to do is have some community spirit, and everybody take some pride in making the town look better on May 3rd than it did on May 2nd. So, thank you for your time.
Mr. President, I have one question for you. If you don't- No, it's just a question about the
Tony.
trees.
Come on, I want to move this along. You can talk to him
He's
after.
talking about
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You talked to, have you been able to connect with Mr. Waldron about the trees? Were we able to get any of the trees that we talked about, the free trees? I think there was a type of program.
There are two programs, one sponsored by the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society, where they want to give away an unbelievable amount of trees. We have people from our committee who will be dealing with Mr. Waldron to see when they're available and what we can get. But in the meantime, this gateway is important, and I think you ought to plant the trees. I think, I get 3 calls this month from people from out of town who want to invest in Bristol, specifically on Mill Street. And they pick your brain about the climate, they pick your brain about the atmosphere. And first impressions are important. That's why Paul Stillwagon, I think I mentioned this the other day, Paul Stillwagon volunteered and did it. Raising the Bar paid for the paint. Paul Stillwagon went out and painted every welcome sign in Bristol, the 4 welcome signs. Did it on his own time because he wanted to get involved. And again, as I said, we paid for the paint. We raise money and we spend money for things. So gateways are important. First impressions are important. These trees are a small piece. We can be planting trees all over town. I know some of us have interest in other places. And the same thing with daffodils. Sounds silly, but you plant a daffodil. If you ride by the Levittown Shopping Center now, the front of the shopping center where the canal used to be is lined by 2 rows of thousands of daffodils to mark out the original path. We can plant daffodils all over town. They come back year after year. So
you think we'll be able to get some trees?
I'm not the person on the committee working on it, but Donna McCluskey heads the Bristol Borough, the Garden Club of Bristol Borough, which is funded by Raising the Bar, and she's much more into that than I am, but I hope so.
Thanks.
Well, Mr. President,
ahead.
I have one question. Mr. Pezza, on the back parking lot behind Mill Street, I seen Joe Segola was over there. It looks like he made something with a roof on top. It looks really pretty. Can you explain a little bit about what that
Yeah,
is?
believe it or not, that's a monument that almost no one in Bristol is aware of. I don't know, maybe Robin and Betty are because it's their ward, but
It's
when
pretty.
the Grundy Foundation helped pay for the paving of the parking lot, they put a plaque up, and it has that little roof, which the kind of roof that I'm hoping that Dave and Mike Saracelli, we talked about putting a little thing on the canal thing. And Joe was asked by the Grundy Foundation to go there and spruce it up, which he did. Yeah. And Joe's going to be laying the bricks for us at the Gateway Crossing when it's...
It looks really pretty.
Those bricks should be in May 7th or sooner. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good evening, Ken Bixler, 300 block of Cleveland Street. I'm sure you know why I'm here. Last week, my name was brought up during a meeting several times. I just felt I was kind of being vilified in a way. And I'm not going to go through my whole thing because it's getting late. Basically, your son was up here, Mr. Giuseppe III. I don't know if he's here this evening. There was a discussion at the school board. I don't know why it really came up at this meeting, but because my name was brought up, I'd like to respond. There's a meeting, a school board meeting that your son offered to pay for and get to the public, but there's one meeting that's not on the website. Now, I wasn't the one who approached the school board at the March, I think the March work session. It was Mr. Rusin. He's here this evening. He got up and questioned why there was a specific meeting not on the website. He watches the meetings on the website. And Mr. Giuseppe III said that he and Mr. Doyle, who were paying to record the meetings temporarily, didn't feel it was necessary to incur the additional cost to upload the meeting to the website. But if you'd like to chip in, he said to Mr. Rusin, correct? Yep. So Mr. Rusin said, I pay enough in my taxes, I don't feel I should have to chip in. So I got up during public participation and said that I would chip in. Okay. And Mr. Giuseppe III said that if he was reimbursed for his expenses to have the meeting recorded and uploaded, that he would release the video. So 2 weeks later, sent him emails, never heard back. 2 weeks later, went to the meeting and made my request again, and he just said, you're not getting it. Which is fine. I didn't really think I was going to get it anyhow. But anyhow, I just wanted to clarify that I didn't even plan on getting up to speak that night. It was just that he said to Mr. Rusin, if you want to chip in, I offered to chip in. Okay? And the other, last week, your son said that I didn't have a problem when they voted to move the meetings out of this facility to the school district. That's not necessarily true. I never wanted to see a lapse in the video coverage. As a matter of fact, I was grateful that your son offered, and even some other school board members recognized that they were grateful that he offered to do that. But he never excluded the website when he made that offer, and all the meetings were always on the website and on Comcast. But anyhow, I wasn't in favor of a lapse in the coverage, but I feel that the school board had good reason. I'm not going to go into all the reasons, but I think the main reason why they wanted to move the meetings out of this building into their own building was their very first meeting, the January work session. There was a big skirmish here after the meeting. A lot of cursing, yelling, screaming. Even someone was quoted as saying, if you think this is bad, it's going to get a lot worse. I understand there were tickets, for parking violations issued that night. I wasn't at that meeting. I was at the next one, but I wasn't at the work session. So that was the biggest reason. The second reason, I would say, they said it's a bigger venue over there, more seating, more parking, so they opted to move out. So that's my answer to that. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this side of the room? Anybody? Go ahead. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Renee Pitts. I live at 262 Madison Street. I'd like to thank Mr. Devine for bringing some things up, because I noticed today that the weather is nice, and the property might have lapsed a little bit, but with the weather being nice, I think Mr. Brannigan's been a little enforcive with certain people. I've been fixing up the property. I didn't really appreciate him out there today trying to intimidate me when I said something to him when he was there to take photos. So I just want to thank Mr. Devine tonight for pointing out some facts that I feel that being new to this town, certain people are targeted. Now, my dad is a resident of Radcliffe Street. He lives in one of the Victorian houses. His house is beautiful. He knows, I've been doing this work since I was 15 years old. He knows I'm trying to make the property I live in currently like my father's property, that it's well-kept, it's maintained. So I just wanted to thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side? Anybody back on this side before I end public participation? That ends public participation. Okay, number 3 on the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the proclamation recognizing May 3rd, 2014 as Keep Bristol Beautiful Cleanup Day.
Second by Ms. Trudell. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 4.
I'd like to make a motion to approve council minutes 3:10:14, 4:7:14, accept the treasurer's report for February 2014, accept the police and DJ's report for March 2014, accept the fire chief's report for March 2014, accept the inspection department report for March 2014, and accept the public works department report for March 2014, and to accept the HARB report and decisions of 3/31.
Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Polensky. Questions or comments? Mr. Devine.
I just have a couple questions regarding the treasurer's report and the minutes. The first thing on the treasurer report is there's a business card account for Walmart that's $3,100, $3,121. I was just wondering, what types of things are we getting at Walmart that would be $3,100?
Back in the refrigerator. Suppose I pull out the 3,100 and I'll give you exactly what's involved.
Okay.
I don't know if it's some computer software or hardware, whatever at the moment, but I'll...
That's fair enough, thank you.
But, all right, Walmart.
And then there's another one for Sam's Club, miscellaneous and contingencies for $12.58. I was just wondering, because there's, what would that one be? Is that like food and
$158.
$1,200? That's what I'm asking.
It's probably, we run the rink things, some of the things we buy at the rink, we run through the borough, then it's reimbursed.
Okay.
I would think that's what it is.
And then the last one is for Matthew Markey. It's office supplies and materials for $51.65. What would, is that something that we're paying for his office supplies and materials?
No, I'd have to pull that, but it's probably I just have to pull the check. I mean, there's like, how many checks there, Tony, for the month? 300-400? I just don't...
Yeah, I don't know, I just thought maybe, the reason I'm asking is I just want to make sure, when I see him, he's a subcontractor, I just want to make sure, I wanted to know if we were paying for his materials and supplies also.
No, we're not paying for his.
Okay, so you can give me a list of that also?
Yep.
Okay, that's all I have for the treasury report. For the minutes, I would like to know, Mr. Salerno, maybe you can help, or Mr. Dillon. Now, how does an abstention vote work? Like, do we need to fill out, a piece of paper or document what we abstain from, or that's not necessary? Yeah.
Mr. President?
Yeah, you can answer him.
If the abstention has to do with a conflict, and it always doesn't have to do with a conflict, there is a form that the in this case, the borough manager, the secretary used to fill out. They just fill out and they state what the motion was and that the person abstained and what the conflict was. The person doesn't sign it or anything. And that's part of under the Ethics Act, that's a requirement. If it has to do with a conflict, sometimes people abstain because they just don't want to vote, but if there's a conflict.
Okay. And the next question, now, is that something that you can make known? Like, can you make your abstention known after the meeting, that you abstain from a vote? Are you able to do that?
Well, why don't we just get to it? Apparently, on the second vote relating to young Mr. Plensky's contract, well, the vote awarding the contract, Councilman Plensky abstained, and subsequently I don't even know what to call it, but a statement of conflict was filled out. The next motion was obviously a moot motion, but it was your motion to put that contract out to bid. I believe Mr. Plensky said no on the floor, and after the meeting, he came up to Mr. Dilling and said, I meant to abstain, and that's what's recorded in the minutes, and a conflict notice was filled out for that. So, I'm not sure what the question is.
No, the question, I just want to know, is that the correct protocol to follow? Is that somebody can make an abstention vote after the fact, not in front of the rest of council and not in the eye of the public? Is that something that we're able to do?
Technically, the vote cannot be changed. So on the record, he voted no, I believe. And then later he said, please note that I should have abstained.
Okay, so what I'm asking is that he's able to do that outside of the public's view. He could do that and just let somebody know that he meant to abstain for that vote.
Yes, because he can't change the vote, so there's nothing to do with the public. As far as the public was concerned, he voted no. He asked the borough manager to place in the minutes that he meant to abstain.
Well, I would like to make it clear, and again, this is not, I mean, that situation has it's passed, I'm not going to rehash it, but I do want to say to you, Mr. Salerno, that, again, this is another case law, Penn Wynn versus Lower Marion Township, that it states councilors cannot change their votes after the meeting is adjourned and the vote is recorded.
What did I just say? He cannot change his vote. I just said that.
Okay,
He
he changed it from,
No,
he went
he-
from, I'm going to read it for you. I'm going to read it.
Voted no.
I'm going to read it for you.
Okay, he voted no. And he asked Mr. Dillon to note in the minutes that he meant to abstain. And that's what's noted in the minutes.
Okay, but that is changing your vote.
He didn't change
You
his
voted
vote.
no.
He can't vote no because he needed to abstain from it.
Well, I'm not sure he
The
did,
vote should have
because
been-
I'm not sure he should have,
Your
because it was a
opinion
moot,
It's
it was
not
a
a,
moot
see, here's the
motion.
problem. The problem is...
The problem is
and then
you want to
this-
go after Mr. Plensky.
No, I'm
That's the
telling you,
problem.
listen, it's already a done deal. What I'm saying, I'm making a point that things are not being done the way they should be done. I'm asking you, and I don't think that...
I'm telling you, you're right.
Okay,
You can't change your vote.
right. So that's what you're saying, but you're not saying that, because he changed his vote because he said no at the meeting, and then after the meeting, he told, I meant to abstain. That's changing your vote.
That's your interpretation.
If you vote no, and then you abstain, there's two different votes, am I correct?
All right, what else you have?
I mean, these are the types of things that are frustrating, is that you want to make it something personal, and it has nothing to do with Mr. Plensky. I understand that he got the job, we're past that point. I'm talking about the process, Mr. Salerno, which you should be helping us through, and then I have to, again, I have to use my lawyer,
What else did you want me to do, Mr.
okay, my wife,
Plensky?
to go and find
Mr.
out what I
Plensky,
need
I
to
mean,
find out.
Mr.
That's the
Devine,
frustrating part.
what is it you wanted me to do? Okay? Mr. Dillon
I
asked
wanted
me,
you to- listen.
listen to me. Mr. Dillon asked me, he asked me to research, can somebody change their vote? And I researched it and I said, no, once the meeting's over, you can't change your vote.
But he did.
Well,
So
listen to me. And he
What
said,
don't
he
you understand
did
about
change
that?
his vote, he voted no.
He voted no,
And
and
he
then
said to
the
Mr.
minutes
Dillon-
say he abstained. That's a different vote. What's so difficult to understand about that? It's a different vote.
Okay, let me ask you something. The whole scheme of thing, what difference does it make?
Well, that's what you wanted to say in the beginning, so you should have just said that. What difference does it make? It's protocol. The same reason that you asked me, well, you should know that. You should know that. You should know it. That's why I'm bringing it
I
up.
know it, that's what I told
No,
you.
you didn't know it because you keep saying the same, which is wrong.
All right, so this is now going to be in the minutes. Are you happy? So this will be in this week's minutes.
Yeah,
So you
that's what I want.
So you clarified.
What I want, and also in the minutes, I would also like to change, all right, there was before that, all right, Mr. Gerard and Mr. Devine questioned Borough Code and the possibility that the contract needs to go out for bid. He also questioned if it was ethical as far as state ethics statute is concerned. He believes, meaning me, all borough contracts of Mr. Gerard should go out to bid. He also asked that we submit to the state ethics for an advisory opinion, in which Mr. Salerno said, no, he would not. That's not in the minutes. I would like that to be in the minutes. So, Mr. Dillon, would you be able to change the minutes so it states that Mr. Salerno said that he wouldn't submit to an advisory opinion from the state ethics advisory? Can we have that in the minutes, and everybody on council get a copy of it?
I don't want,
Just put it in this.
put it in the
this week's
minutes, I don't care.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Okay, you're
You're
welcome.
very helpful.
You're welcome, dear.
Thank you.
Can you do me a favor, send me an email
I will.
the exact wording so I get it right?
Don't waste paper.
Yeah.
Trees, trees.
No, you did say, we can go back. Okay, that's all I have, question.
Any other questions or comments on the minutes? We have a motion and we have a second by Mr. Plensky. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 5.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Chet Stutsky to the Delaware Canal State Park Advisory Committee.
Second by Ms. Cullum. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Number 6.
Mr. President, I'd like to authorize the sale of the floating docks as is to the highest bidder, Navsank Marina in Seabright, New Jersey, in the amount of $4,202.01.
Second by Mr. Polensky. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 7.
President,
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the sale of 2006 Ford Crown Victoria as is to the highest bidder, Jersey One Auto, in the amount of $1,677.99.
Second by Ms. Cullum. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Number 8.
Mr. President, I'd like to authorize the purchase of 12 portable radios in the amount of $8,071.50 for Public Works and Sewer employees.
I have a second. Second by Mr. Polensky. Questions or comments? Mr. Devine.
The only comment that I have is that I do believe that the borough workers do an outstanding job. But I also feel that when something is a temporary issue, like telephone, the line going out, or the communications of the cell phone tower, and we were able to make do, and I think that, the walkie-talkies and the radios would be great, but it reminds me of like when you have kids, like, you would love to give your kids everything, the top notch of everything and not have to want for anything, but it's a little, like, to me, it's excessive. I don't think that we need it, but I do want to reiterate that I believe that the borough workers do a fantastic job. I just don't feel, especially when we're going to be putting some money towards these flowers, which, I agree with, that I'm not going to, I'm not going to agree with the $8,000 for the portable radios.
Any other questions or comments? Merle, I hate to put you on the spot, but do you want to explain to council how important this is? I mean, I know you had no communication the night of the storm, and we just didn't decide to buy radios.
And years past, all the borough equipment had mobile radios in the equipment, the trucks and the backhoes and things like that. So if you needed to get a hold of them, you could call them, on the radio. The portable radio gives the employee the advantage of taking the radio with him when he gets out of the truck or whatever to do whatever they need to do so that they can constantly be in contact with whoever. We have had instances where we've lost phone communication, and, if we're up here in a storm and we're trying to get a hold of somebody, there's a tree down, there's a wire down, and if we don't have a phone on to get a hold of them, we have no way to get in touch with them. So I might also say that the price of this radio, the $8,071.50, isn't just for the portable radios. It's also for a new repeater that goes up in the top of the Grundy Tower that makes sure the signal gets completely out, out of the borough. So council got me portable radios last year for my office. They weren't the same type of radio as this, but we used them for like the events and things like that, the parades and all. So we always have contact with somebody if there's an emergency, and that's primarily what we're using these for.
Add a couple of things. I'd also like to say, in my opinion, this is a safety issue for having this type of communications. All the employees will have this communication. During the snowstorms, we had some loaners, and the men were using these, and you had better communication. You know where different trucks were. It's not right for the employees to have their own personal cell phone that we have to call them. So I think this is like more or less the final touch on the major communications equipment. And again, it's $8,000 for 12 radios and a repeater. I look at it also as safety and efficiency.
I'd like to say something too. In the world that we live in today, we never know when we're going to have a weather emergency or any other kind of emergency, and I believe that it's well-deserved. So,
My opinion is that this was a recommendation given to us by the borough superintendent, yourself, and the borough manager. This didn't come from any council member. But I think that if we didn't vote for this tonight, then we should at least buy everybody Nextels and pay the monthly bill. So they're using their own private phones, which, to me, they work for the borough. They shouldn't have to use their phones, so.
Yeah, this is also a means of communication for them to talk to me in the building, as we do have my channel for the emergency management in all of the police cars and their police portables. So we have contact with all borough people in an emergency, which is key.
I guess the couple questions I have for you, Mr. Winslow, is the first thing is, if we were to get these portable radios and spend $8,000, how were we able to get through the storm? And they had the 3 days without the cell phone towers not working. What did we do to get through those 3 days?
Temporary radios.
Originally, when the item came up for them to use, I gave George 2 of my radios, and then our communications officer, Bill Ferguson, he came in and got some additional radios for him that were already programmed on that channel and loaned them to us to get us through.
How about that?
Because we knew, we were going to need them for the storm, so.
Now, just thinking, I mean, I'm always looking, at different ways to be able to maintain costs. Or do we have any, either phones or walkie-talkie, whatever that we're using, that are going to be obsolete? Because I know that we're moving in with the, with the police department and the rescue squad and the fire department. They're all changing their radios to upgrade them. Do we have radios sitting around that are obsolete that we could use and kind of turn them into what we can use them for and need them for?
Well, the radios that we currently have are getting older, and most of them we have are the Motorola 3000 radios. You can continue, they're discontinuing parts for these radios and things like that. I have my own radio for the county that's one of the 5000 radios, and I have currently a bad board in this radio, and I've tried to get the county to get it fixed. We have taken it into them, and they send it back to Motorola. And I don't know if it's because they want to sell the new product to the county with the new digital system or not, but I'm currently living with that the way it is. So hopefully, we're not going to endure this much longer, and we're hoping that we get the grant through the fire grant that we put in for to pay for those, so that the fire companies don't have to pay for them.
Okay, and the other thing I wanted to say, and I have, believe me, I have a lot of respect for you, Mr. Winslow, is what Mr. DiGiuseppe said. To me, right now, with the cell phones and the way that your billing is, I mean, you have unlimited minutes, you have unlimited text, you have unlimited, like, to me, for the borough workers to use their own phones, to me, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, to sit here and think that we have to pay, get a Nextel phone and, have their line and pay a monthly bill to add another, to me, it is ridiculous. You know what I mean? That the taxpayer, that we would have to foot that bill. So, although I do respect your opinion, I would have to say, I mean, I'm definitely not in favor of spending $8,000 on new radios.
Okay, anybody else? Favor?
Can we get a roll call vote, Mr. DiGiuseppe?
Roll call vote.
Mr. Gerard.
No.
Mr. Devine.
No.
Mr. Pezza is absent. Ms. Cullen.
Yes.
Ms. Rodriguez is absent. Ms. Trinnell.
Yes.
Mr. Plansky.
Yes.
Mr. DiGiuseppe.
Yes. Motion carries. Number 9.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion authorizing the planning proposal as submitted by the Public Works Director for borough property at Otter Street and Old Route 13 at the cost of $4,085.
Second by Mr. Polensky. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 11.
Mr. President, I'd like to adopt a resolution entering into an agreement with Bucks County to update the Bucks County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Second by Ms. Trinnell. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the waiver of a permit fee request from the Redevelopment Authority for soil and grading work associated with Buckley and Beaver Street School Project in the amount of $4,429. Permit number 14-0060. Applicant is to complete project as submitted. And, go ahead. I wanted to say something.
Do I have a second?
Here.
Second by Ms. Trinnell. Questions or comments? Mrs. Cullen?
I feel that we should wait on word from Bob White before we make, changes. Okay? That's why I wanted to go through tonight.
Just not to get into a major discussion with this, we're approving it as is, we're waiving the permit fee. Nobody's saying they can't change anything. Just come in and let us know what they're doing. It'll be discussed, and if everything's okay, we just move on.
Right.
All in favor?
I've got a question.
Go ahead, Tony.
Now, is that something that, can we just write that in there now, or applicant is to...
Just like any other job. You're approving, what we're doing is waiving the permit fee that was here. Has nothing to do with if they're going to come in. We're approving that plan. We can't say, well, if you change this, if you change that, if you change, you don't vote like that. You make a motion, you vote it. Tomorrow, if Mr. White comes in and says, the manhole cover's 3 feet low, we need to raise it. That's not changing the plan. You're raising something.
Well, I'm saying, that's what it says on the end of it. Applicant is to complete project as
As
submitted.
planned, but that's not a change in the plan. From what Mr. Groff said, they're not changes. They're alterations to the plan. You're raising the manhole 2 feet. They expose the manhole. That's...
To me, the word alteration means
All right,
change.
it does, but what I'm saying is, you're lifting a manhole. So, look, we got a motion on the
All
floor.
right, well, I want to make a motion to table this motion.
We got a motion to table. Roll call vote.
Mr. Gerard.
No, I want to waive it, that fee.
I want to waive it too.
No, wait a minute.
I want to table.
Mr. Gerard's saying he wants to go through with the motion, correct?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Devine,
No,
you're against the motion.
no, I'm not against the motion. I said I want to table it. That's
He
what I
said no, you said what? I mean, don't, he already voted, it's up to you. What do you want to do?
I'm the one who made the motion to table it, so what are you taking
Okay,
issue?
well, do you understand what you're voting on?
I do you?
What are you voting on?
I'm voting on tabling it to move, so we do it at another
Okay, so
time.
you're voting on table.
Tabling, yes.
Who's next?
Is that a yes?
That is a yes.
Mrs. Trinnell, Ms. Trinnell?
No. I had to think for a minute where it was. No, no table.
Ms. Cullen?
No.
Mr. Plansky?
No.
Mr. DeGiuseppe? No.
We're back on the motion. We have a motion on the floor and a second. Am I correct?
Yes.
Roll call vote on the motion.
Mr. Gerard?
The motion is to table it?
No, the motion is now
To
to
approve it.
approve this to waive the permit.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Devine?
Sorry about that, Dave. No.
Ms. Trinnell?
Yes.
Ms. Cullen?
Yes.
Mr. Plansky?
Yes.
Mr. DeGiuseppe?
Yes. Motion carries. Number 12.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize Mayor Sabatini to be given the documents he needs, which would be the transcripts and depositions he needs to do his investigation.
I'll second that motion.
Second by Mr. Gerard. Any questions or comments? The only comment I would like to make is that we're going to add I would like to add a couple things to the agenda, so I'm asking council at this time to vote this motion down, and there'll be a new motion made. So you want to do a roll call vote?
I'd like to comment. I already talked to Mr. Sabatini, and he knows that I am not in favor of this because of litigation. So I just, want to make that clear,
What litigation?
that may
All right.
come out of it.
But what I'm saying, what litigation?
What, that may come out of this motion. I
Why-
don't have to specify.
Why are we speculating that there's going to be litigation?
Just because,
All right.
forget it.
We got a motion on the floor, we have a second, roll call vote.
Okay, Mr. Gerard?
On the 12 motion there, authorize Mr. Sabatini, yes.
Mr. Devine?
Yes.
Ms. Trinnell?
No.
Ms. Cullen?
No.
Plansky? Mr. DeGiuseppe?
No. The motion's defeated. I'm going to ask council to make a motion to add a couple more things to the agenda.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules to add 2 motions to the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Is that a question? Can we, because I have something I want to add too, can I just add on to it?
Get at it. That's no
Okay,
problem. You want to go first, Tony?
Sure, I'll go first. All right, since,
Everybody votes to add 3 things to the agenda, correct?
All in favor?
Yes,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay, go ahead, Tony.
since everyone's concerned that Pat may not be qualified to review these documents, right, we want, and we don't want the taxpayer to assume the cost of any investigation, I understand that. So I would like that everybody on council give our full support to this motion, which is to have this agenda, this motion on this agenda, that we will support the mayor in his investigation by council by contacting the Attorney General, the Bucks County DA, the Pennsylvania State Ethics Board, and the FBI to come in and do a full investigation in the borough to allow these agencies any and all access to perform a thorough investigation to clear the borough and the police department and allow the mayor to make any necessary changes in the police department to prevent further costly lawsuits and give our good officers the clean bill of respect they deserve.
Do I have a second on the motion? Second.
I'd like to make a motion to table that.
It's a motion on the floor to table. Roll call vote to table.
Where's Maria when I need her?
List.
Okay, motion to table, okay. Mr. Gerard. Mr. Devine.
No.
Ms. Trinnell.
Yes.
Ms. Cullen.
Yes.
Mr. Plansky. Yes. Mr. Di Giuseppe.
Yes. Okay, before any other motions, I just want to say a couple things. First of all, on these, I welcome any investigation by anybody, so if you want to write the letter, Tony,
Yes.
that's fine with me. You can send it to any agency you want.
Do I have your support?
You have my support 100%. You can bring in the FBI, the Attorney General, whoever you want to bring in.
Hey, listen, I want to make it clear, the reason why this has to happen is because
Wait, I just
of
said,
the-
I said I agree.
And I'm agreeing
So
with
do
you. I
what
just
you
wanna
want to
make
do.
it
Let's
clear.
move on.
Why is it, listen, I just want to make it clear to everybody that that's why we're doing it. It's to make sure, listen, if, like Mr. Pezza was up there saying, that it's not a good day, you know, he would hate to be a police officer today, right? So what we want to do is we want to clear all the good officers, and if there's nothing there, I don't even know what we're worried about. Let's just get it so these guys can do their job without this cloud over them. I mean, to me, I don't understand it. We gave 100% support to Pat when he came in, and I just want to make sure it's not lip service. Let's give the guy what he wants. What's so difficult about it? That's all I want to say.
Okay, let me just say what I want to say, and then I'm going to have a motion read. First of all, let's understand one thing. The borough does not have any depositions or records in this building. That's number one. So when Mr. Sabatini asked for them, we don't have them to give him if we wanted to. That's number one. And I have an obligation, as so does everybody else in this borough council, to protect the taxpayers of this town by any future litigation that may occur through these transcripts. So when I took a shot in a newspaper saying that I didn't want to release these, it wasn't that Ralph Di Giuseppe didn't want to release them. I didn't want to release them because I didn't want potential litigation coming back to the borough with these transcripts being public record. And in Levittown Now's article, Mr. Hornstein was quoted by saying, "While customary, I would have no objection to release the depositions. I do not want to release the names of innocent witnesses and victims. These individuals were mentioned repeatedly during depositions. It would not be fair to them. They have suffered enough." So what we're saying is, and I agree with Mr. Hornstein, that a lot of things came up in these depositions. But in my opinion, I would think that if there was anything found to be wrong, whether it was corruption or whatever, I think that attorneys on all sides, whether it was the website, Suppressi side, or the borough side, had an obligation to notify this borough that there was something going on that was wrong, which never occurred through anything. The other thing is that you got to remember one thing, that even though we're protected under our insurance company as sitting here as councilmen, that doesn't cover us for all conduct of borough officials. And that may lead to individuals being sued personally, which the insurance company may not cover you as an councilman because the way you conducted yourself or anything in these transcripts came out and were released. So what I'm recommending today is that could you read that, put that motion on the floor?
Would you like me to put that motion on the floor right now? Is that what you want?
Sure.
Okay. Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to allow the mayor to request from the borough's carrier, PIRMA, which is our insurance company, the deposition transcript from the settled Suppressi and Webb civil rights cases, with the departments provided directly to the mayor and not to the borough manager, the council members, or the borough solicitor, so as to limit the potential personal liability of the individual council members and the other borough officials and employees.
So do I have a second on that motion? Second by Ms. Cullen. Questions or comments?
I have a
Go
quick comment, if you
ahead.
don't mind. I think it's important, number one, like Ralph said, we don't have this information, so we could never give it to him. We are giving permission to the mayor to request from the insurance company, who were our attorneys at the time. I don't want these transcripts to be an excuse for the mayor not doing his investigation. So I welcome however the mayor deems to determine the police department and its ethics and its honor. I welcome him to do that. But again, we never had them, so, speculate conspiracy all you want to. We didn't have them.
I want to say with this thing is that you requested depositions, they get sent directly to the mayor, not to any borough official, not to the manager, not to the solicitor, not to any member of council. If Mr. Sabatini wants to share them with any council member, he can. I'm advising council that is in your best interest not to accept anything or ask any questions, what was in them depositions about anybody. I don't know about you guys, but I personally have a lot at stake here. I can lose a lot, and I'm not jeopardizing everything I worked for in another lawsuit, and the insurance company says to me, we're not covering you as a councilman because this got out on the street, and how did it get out on the street? So I just think for the safety of everybody here, all our borough employees, the manager, the solicitor, I support you 100%. If you want them, the insurance company will probably release them to you. If you feel that Mr. Devine read that motion about FBI, attorney, whoever, you could share all that stuff with him. But we would like you as the mayor to take this cloud that you're claiming that's over the police department and use it any way you want, but you will be the only one that has these documents if they release them to you, which I think they will.
And take full responsibility for them.
Mr. Devine.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it's clear that the motion that Ms. Trinnell read, that we are going to give 100% support when because the motion sounds like that he has the ability to ask the insurance company.
Go to the insurance
But
company.
I want to make sure that he also has...
Oh, we're not against him getting them.
I know, that's what, I want to make sure that the insurance company knows that they have, the mayor has our full support in getting the...
We're voting on it.
Right, that's what I want to make sure, that's all.
We're going to vote on it.
Okay.
We want the mayor to receive them, study them, do whatever he wants with them, but understand that if he shares, I'm advising council, I wouldn't want to know what's in them. So you can't be held liable as an individual, because our coverage may not cover, I'm letting you know now, that our coverage may not cover you as a councilman if you're sued personally in this litigation lawsuit. And I don't think it's a matter of if we get sued, it's a matter of when there's a lawsuit filed. So everybody understands that we support them, and that's why there's a motion on the floor tonight. So, roll call vote to have the mayor get these depositions and do whatever he wants with them according to this motion that was written. You want to read the motion again? Read the motion again, here it is.
Motion to allow the mayor to request from the borough's carrier, PERMA, the deposition transcripts from the settled Suppression Web civil rights cases, with the documents provided directly to the mayor and not to the borough manager, the council members, or the borough solicitor, so as to limit the potential personal liability of the individual council members and other borough officials and employees.
Okay? Everybody understands that.
Okay.
Roll call vote.
Mr. Gerard.
Yes.
Mr. Devine.
Yes.
Ms. Trinnell.
Yes.
Ms. Cullen.
Yes.
Mr. Plansky.
Yes.
Mr. DiGiuseppe.
Absolutely.
Motion 12.
No, it's not. Anybody have anything else before we...
Nope. Motion to adjourn.
Hold it. Motion. Go ahead, Leo. I'm sorry. Make that motion if you want.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to partner with the Bucks County Redevelopment Authority in a grant application to eliminate blight by demolishing the Grundy Powerhouse and Stack.
I have a second. Second by Ms. Cullen. Questions or comments? Just to let everybody know, and I mentioned this to council real quick before we walked out here, that there may be some money available to take down the old powerhouse and smokestack. Mr. Polensky and I have been working on this building for years, and if the redevelopment authority can get us some money to take it down, we would appreciate it. So, all those in favor?
Well, I have a question.
Okay.
I don't know if you have any questions. Now, is this in a historic building? Do we need any, this has nothing to do with that?
Any other questions or comments?
No one else has ever offered, like, I remember Easton had a canal works
Yeah.
museum. Any interest in that at all? or
We've been
that's all-
trying to market that building for years. We took it through blight. We sold it to a developer.
Twice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
Right.
building, I mean, it's...
The
well built.
developer realized it would just cost too much money to renovate it. I mean, it was a beautiful building that they were going to put a penthouse in it, and there was some grant money involved, but just couldn't pull it off. The redevelopment authority got involved, bought the building back off the developer, and now we're in the process. He's been advertising it, for the last year or so, trying to get a buyer, couldn't find a buyer. So at this point, the recommendation is to take it down. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No, not to go for...
Motion to adjourn?
You know why? Mr. Malcolm?
I don't care why.